All right, everyone, we have some news and announcements for Raid Shadow Legends. Just a quick overview. First of all, the data files for patch 1.15 are available to be downloaded. So technically the patch is out, but the features have not been turned on yet. Plarium has been using the system for the last few patches where they give everyone a day or so to download the patch and update the game themselves, where if they don't, then a day or so later, they will force you to download and update the game where you won't be able to log in, and that's the point where they actually turn on the features for the patch. So they mentioned in a Discord announcement, which I'll show you guys in a second here, that the patch features itself will be turned on later tonight or tomorrow at the time of me uploading this video, of course. So we're looking at about anywhere from 12 to 36 hours or so. And then the other thing that I wanted to go over is the summoning events that we have going on right now. We have a new one, another 10 times event. These have really been running a lot. I've noticed that over the last couple of months, Plarium really seems like they've turned up the volume of summoning events. It seems to be a pretty big summon rampage as of late, so I'll go over the details of that as well, because my opinions are pretty similar to a lot of these summoning events, the 10 times ones anyway, but they are a little bit different because this is a bit of a unique one where they are actually champion pairs instead of, either a specific champion or an entire faction like they've been doing as of lately. But let's get into the actual patch details first of all. We have this announcement here from Valkyrie on the official Raid Shadow Legends Discord. Happy Monday, Raiders. As most of you have seen already, the 1.15 version is available in your stores. You can update the current version to a new one, but the feature of the patch won't be available yet. That is a so-called light update, a new version that is available for download. However, most of the features that it should include are not active yet. The next phase is a forced update. You won't actually be able to log into the game if you haven't updated it at this point. We do want to give players some time to update the current version to a new one, so that is why we're going to launch a force update tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. We'll keep you posted. Have a great day. So the patch is actually technically out and the features will be turned on. If you are interested in just a few last minute things that you can do to prepare, I already have an entire video kind of going over this in more detail. So just a couple of last minute things. I know that I'm going to be doing this, but of course the patch is going to introduce 40 new levels, no maximum energy unfortunately, but I've talked about that enough already. But if you want to just get a tiny bit of a head start, today's dailies I've still collected because the reset is going to be in about, 8-9 hours or so. The patch won't be out before then. But the next day, I'm actually going to wait to claim my dailies for that experience. I'm actually even holding on to a couple of my weeklies and a couple of monthlies as well, which I'm still working on. So I'll have that additional experience just to get a little bit of a head start. Probably not really that big of a deal, but if you're level 60 and want to give yourself just a little bit of an extra advantage, might as well if the red dots don't really annoy you that much. So also the clan boss changes, make sure to coordinate with your clan members if anything is really going to be changing with the way that you and your clan approaches fighting clan bosses. Now that they won't actually die at 0 HP, you'll still be able to fight them. So if that's changed your strategy, definitely something you want to communicate with your clan about. And also the champion rebalancing. I'll list off the champions that are going to be rebalanced and have some changes. So if you guys have one of these champions, not only is it a good idea to test after the patch, but you might want to kind of prepare and test a little bit before the patch so you can compare and contrast how the champions were, how good they were before the patch, and then kind of what the changes actually did to them, because it's actually not only buffs for some champions, there are a decent amount of nerfs as well. So the champions in that list are Richtof the Bold, Elder Skarg, Duchess Elitu, Ursine Ice Crusher, Vala, Rotos the Lost Groom, and Tower and Titan. Now, I went into these details in another video from a few days ago, a lot more, so I'm going to leave it there. And if you guys are interested in exactly what these champion rebalancing changes are, I encourage you to check out that video from a few days ago. Now, we are getting new arena rewards as well as arena tournaments coming to the game, but the arena rewards are going to be coming out May 11th, so a week or so at the time of me posting this video. Makes sense because the arena actually just reset a few hours ago, and the arena tournament is not going to be coming out the day the patch is released. They said this multiple times, so I'd say it's not a bad idea to kind of tweak and adjust your arena team. Of course, the arena tournaments are going to be based off of just winning and not the actual amount of medals that you get. So if you kind of need to change your arena team, your gear, or your overall strategy, you don't have to worry about that a whole lot right now, because the arena tournament is not going to be coming out the same day that the patch is actually released. The last two things really to mention about the patch before getting into some details about the summoning event are, make sure that you guys claim your update rewards. They get sent to your mailbox every time there is an update for the game. You get something like, I think it's an energy refill, an arena bag, maybe a clan boss key, and it's really easy to just accidentally forget about those. They usually only last for 2 or 3 days in your mailbox. So keep an eye on those, make sure that you claim them, and also keep an eye out for stealth changes and updates. We have the update notice for the patch, as well as the general overview for what we can expect to see, but I have noticed that with the last few patches, they've actually thrown in a few stealth changes as well. So I'll keep an eye out for anything that I notice that wasn't in the actual notes, and if you guys notice something when the patch is actually activated, feel free to let me know as well. So now let's get into the actual summoning event that we have going on. It is another one of these 10 times events, and they have really been on a summoning event rampage as of lately, especially with these 10 times events. Now this one is a little bit unique. We haven't had one quite like this, because this one is going to be for champion pairs. So you'll notice a theme that all the champions in this 10 times event have some sort of skill that only actually activates when they have that other champion in their pair also on the same team. So lately we've had a lot of these 10 times events for a lot of champions in one particular faction. This is the first time that we've seen kind of a gimmick like this. I hate to use that word, but I mean, that's kind of what it is. So now my general opinion about these summoning events, you know, the 10 times ones, they're always, you know, hey, not as good as a times 2 event, save your shards. But a couple of noteworthy things to mention about this one that have not really been like the other ones are, I noticed that generally all of the champions in this 10 times event are actually really darn good. And normally, like in these big 10 times events where they've featured, you know, 6, 8, 10 champions, there's been a couple of the rate up champions that I'm like, man, you know, I really kind of wish that didn't have rate up, because that's not really that great of a champion. But all of these are pretty darn good. I would say this is a solid 8 champions. All of them definitely well above average in their respective categories. But don't be fooled though, because they spread across Ancient, Sacred, and Void Shard. So it's not like you can get all 8 champions from one type of shard. Now, the other thing to mention about this actual event is, you know, if you were to pick a type of shard, I always like to do this for the 10 times events, because my general advice is, say for double rates, so you actually have double the chances of getting legendaries and epics from the respective shards. This one, you don't. The chances of pulling legendaries and epics remain the same. 8% for epics, 0.5% from legendaries, 6% for legendaries for sacred shards. You want to save for the double rates, but if you do want to test your luck, see if you are the chosen one, what shards do you pull from out of the 3? Do you go with ancients? Do you go with sacreds? Do you go with voids? And honestly, for this one, I would really say, like, what is the champion on this list here that you really want to go for? I would probably pick an epic, because legendaries, the chances of getting these are just so low. It's really difficult to pick a legendary champion you really want to try to go for it. But, you know, if you really want to pull, you know, a couple of void shards to see if you can get a skull crown, go for it. If you really want to pull a couple of ancient shards to see if you can get a Sinesha or a Juliana or a Romero, go for it. But definitely do not go crazy on this summoning event. You want to save the majority of your shards for the double rates. The only exception is if you are a really big spender, or if you somehow have most epics in the game or most legendaries in the game, but somehow these champions are just some of the very few that you don't actually have. You know, if you have 75% of epics, but you don't have Sinesha, Juliana, or Romero, you know, then things change a little bit. But that's only going to apply to a very, very few people watching this video. So for the vast majority, you want to save the most amount of your shards for the double rates. And we just actually had a double rates event for sacred shards. So unlikely that sacred shards is going to be next up. we are looking at either Ancient Shards or Void Shards, and honestly, Plarium has been very unpredictable. They don't go in order, as you guys know. They don't go Ancient Void Sacred, Ancient Void Sacred. They will mix it up a little bit, but they don't do the same one twice in a row usually. So I think Ancients and Voids are pretty fair game for the next double rates. Now, the only other noteworthy thing is the excluded champions list. This is actually really important because we just had a double sacred event. So if you do want to pick between ancient and sacred shards, I would actually say that sacreds might be a slightly better pick in that comparison, only because of this. So you cannot get Shaman, Jizzo, High Katoon, Yaga the Insatiable, Dark Athel, Dark Elaine, Lordly Legionnaire, and Scylla the Drakes from Sacred Shards. So that's actually 8 epics right there. That's a decent amount of epics kind of taken out of the champion pool, which in turn should increase your chances of getting the rate up champions even more. So if you did want to pull, 1 or maybe 2 Sacred Shards, this is probably not a terrible time in order to do so if, Sinesha, Juliana, Romero, and of course, Zavia and Cupidus are some of the champions that you're really on the lookout for. But anyway, that's enough about that. I really don't want to go too much into detail. I don't think I'm going to do any shard pulls for this one. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Now, the summoning events, of course, they like to run a summon rush or a champion chase tournament alongside these 10 times events. This one is just a plain old regular 2,500 one, pretty typical. This is the summon rush that I think it's the one that we had, back when the game was still newer. Maybe it was only 1,500 points, though. They might have actually increased the number of points for it. But you're looking at the typical legendary skill tome, epic skill tome, energy, gems, and then, of course, experience boost and the little stuff like the rare skill tome, silver, and the experience brew. Besides that, though, the Skull Lord fusion is over, and we don't really have a whole lot of events and stuff going on in the game right now. We've got the Summon Rush, we got the big giant dungeon divers, though. If you guys are still working on that, I don't think I'm going to make it through this one, unfortunately. And we have this champion training event as well, which the dungeon divers and champion training both have a little less than 2 days. So I'm interested in the next day or so after the patch releases. Are they going to run another cycle of events, or are we going to see some news and info about maybe another upcoming fusion or some other plans that they have for the game? We'll just kind of have to wait and see. With that all being said, though, that is going to be it for the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and if you are interested in more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to leave a quick like as well. It means more than you can imagine, so thank you to all of you guys to do that. And more raid videos should be popping up on the screen right about now. Feel free to check them out, but if not, until next time, have a fantastic day, everyone. Take care, and this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.